Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this last day of May. May the 31st here. I feel a lot better, folks, than I did yesterday. I had a really bad sinus headache yesterday. Much better mood today. Got a great show on tonight. Going to talk a little bit of the AFC South. We're having some OTAs here. Talk about the AFC South. And also Colorado. Wow, their schedule got released. Fox and ESPN putting nationally televised games for Colorado. Let's see how Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, I'll talk about their season. And kudos to Clayton Kershaw, finally pushing back here. I will tease that. We'll go ahead and hit our first and only break, and I'll be back here in 49 seconds here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. And I'm back here live. Okay, interesting story here. Now, we know that Deion Sanders took the Colorado Buffalo job, 1-11 last year. A lot of unorthodox speeches. He's telling, hey, listen, guys, you probably want to get in the portal. I mean, he was very blunt and straight up about it. I will say this, and this is something other people aren't saying about this, and that is he's brutally honest with the players. You know, I don't like a coach who tells me one thing and does another. Instead of saying, hey, everybody's going to get an equal opportunity. We're going to try you guys out. You're going to be competition. He's like, no, listen, some of you might want to get in that portal, transfer portal. But interesting article came out of The Athletic today. Stuart Mandel from The Athletic says that Deion Sanders has convinced Fox and ESPN to put the Colorado on national TV. This is the most times. Let me check this out, Pickles. This is the most time. They were 1-11 last year. They will appear on the first two big noon kickoff games this fall. Buffalo. The Colorado will open up at TCU. Remember, TCU played for a national championship last year. And then they've got this big noon kickoff. They will play Nebraska at home. Now, remember, TCU, Sonny Dykes went undefeated last year. Now, they did lose a lot of players, though. They've got their quarterbacks in the NFL, wide receivers in the NFL. They've got some guys that's moved on, essentially. And Nebraska has got former Carolina Panthers coach Matt Rule. So they're going to be much better. Both teams will be much better here. One will be on the road. One will be at home. This big noon kickoff is a couple of things here, folks. This article says Colorado, this will be the first time since 1990. We're talking 33 years, Pickles. 33 years that they have the first three games all aired on national TV or ESPN. It's had two games, ESPN's main network, and all last season, none on ESPN 5 last year. So a lot of expectations coming from this Colorado team. Opening day in Boulder. Now, they will be playing against Nebraska. So you're saying, man, I'm thinking like you pick. I mean, Nebraska and Colorado, that used to be a huge game, 20 years ago. And now it's going to get a lot of hype. Now, this team has brought in 50, I'm not exaggerating here, according to this article, 50 new players. Only 12 players have been left over since he made his speech and said, few of you, more than a few, might want to get in that transfer portal. Might want to get in that portal. So, so this is some big time publicity for this Colorado team. The more I think about it, it looks like you're getting a lot of players here. That is a lot of turnover to put on the team here. Now, he's Schroeder Sanders. His son will be the quarterback. Now, this Travis Hunter guy also transferred. He was the number one cornerback in the country. Deion Sanders got him to go to Jackson State, the HBC college here, over Florida State here. Travis Hunter, number one corner. Deion played cornerback at the highest level possible. He convinced this guy to go to Jackson State, and now he has transferred over here with his son Schroeder Sanders here. So really good coaching staff. Looks like 50 players, and it looks like and this is what I mentioned the other day, and I didn't get really a chance to dive into this. Is it looks like he's trying to be one and done. It looks like that Deion Sanders, he's wanting to be one and done here. And I'm pretty sure that the administrators at the University of Colorado said, hey, look, we're 1-11. Maybe that's okay. Maybe we can get a better assistant here if he can win 8 or 9 games here. If he can win 8 or 9 games out of this 12 from 1-11 and be in quite a few of these games, there's a good possibility. Now, he has recruited pretty well. They were number one in transfer portal. Obviously, he got 50 players. But they were number 20 in recruiting rankings, according to 24/7 this past year. And the guy was hired in December? Something like that. He was hired in December after it's saying God told him to coach Jackson State. I kind of shake my head at that, for only 3 years at Jackson State. But of course, hey, he dominated there from the jump. But they did get the, top 20 and 36 next year. For Colorado, that's pretty good from where they were a 1-11 team. So my thing is what he'll probably do, what he's probably telling these kids in private, that in a roundabout way, in air quotes, if I get another job somewhere else, an SEC job, what if Florida State's what if they get frustrated with Mike Norvell? What if they decide to fire him and bring in Deion Sanders there? If I get this other job, you guys just jump in the portal and follow me there. Now, of course, Travis Hunter, that would be another transfer for him. I think he's a sophomore this year. He's a sophomore or junior. Either way, it's a lot of jumping around, and it's a lot of hype here, which is going to amp up the competition there against Colorado. Now, I did look at their schedule. It's not as cut and dry as I thought it would be. I thought that they would be a lot smoother than what it is. And quite frankly, this schedule may keep Deion there for one more year. They opened up at TCU. That's going to be the Fox Big Noon game. By the way, these big noon games, this myth, and I've been telling people, Pickles, I've been telling you this for the years. I've been telling the viewers this for years, is that people do not want to watch games in the middle of the night. For one thing, some people go out to eat on Saturday nights. Some people like me go to bed early on Saturday nights because I've got stuff to do. I got another show. I got to go to church or whatever on Sundays. I do not want to watch a game that comes on at 8 or 9 o'clock Central Time, and that's 9 or 10 o'clock Eastern Time with the clock stoppage on a West Coast game. And the game going into well after midnight on Saturday. Some nights I'm in the mood for that. Most nights I'm not. The reason why I'm saying this is Fox had it right to have a game at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central. Those are the highest rated games out there. According to this athletic report, people, hey, they're doing work around the house. You know, you may have got your grocery shopping done early. The game comes on 12 p.m. Eastern. Dion has got it approved by Colorado. That would be 10 a.m. Pickles Mountain Time. But they're totally okay with that. A 10 a.m. Mountain Time against Nebraska second week. But those are the highest rated games. Nobody would tell you that. That's the same people that think nobody watches sports in July. I mean, they're just missing the beat here. Don't put games on in the middle of the night. You will get a good rating if you put a game on around 12 o'clock Eastern Time on a Saturday. I love watching those Michigan games or Ohio State games that Fox has put on. What's this guy named Gus Johnson? Gus Johnson, who calls those games. Yeah. And you would think, and people will be tailgating out there at 8 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. You know, they'll be tailgating out there. I went to University of Tennessee last year, and I got there 8:30 local time. 8:30 local time there for a 2:30 game, Pickles, and that was for the Florida game. There were tailgates set up. There were barbecues set up. 8:30, 9 o'clock in the game. People's drinking and stuff. Not my cup of tea, but I would grab a sandwich at that. I'll eat a sandwich anytime. You know, people barbecuing. It smelled really good, and it was like night. So that was 6 hours before the start time of the game. We know about how popular ESPN Game Day, and of course Fox has one now, which is gaining popularity as well. So these game day shows are really popular in the college football area. So yeah, Boulder, but those are highly rated games. You would not think that, but people like me, they do not like to stay up really late in the middle of the night and watch games, you know? And so going back to the schedule, we play at TCU, probably lose that one, but they also play. I'm looking at their road games. They got, ESPN's going to carry the Colorado State game. They'll beat them, but they got to play at Oregon. Oregon is recruiting like nobody's business. Bo Nix in his last year there. Dan Lanning, I think, has got as a former coach of the Georgia Bulldogs, is a recruit like nobody's business. They'll probably lose at Oregon, and they'll probably lose at TCU. But then they got USC at home with the Heisman Trophy winner there, Caleb Williams, and all that talent. Now, that'll be a pretty good game, but I think it probably won't because they're playing Oregon the week before that. So that's 3 losses there. And then they got to play UCLA, Chip Kelly throwing the ball. They might beat UCLA at UCLA, but they'll probably be underdogs there. So that's 4 losses there. And then, of course, they got to play at Utah. So that would be 5 losses. And then before that, they have to play at Washington State. So, out of 12 games here, I mean, this team could probably be 7-5. And the most talked about 7-5 team, when I first read that Dion was going to take over and bring in a ton of players, I thought maybe 9-3. 9-3 would be a miracle at this point. But a 7-5, I just said, well, they were 1-11. Yeah. But again, my thing is, I think that that Dion wants to be one and done, and I think it's going to be more like 2 or 3 and done. So if you're a Colorado fan or just a college football fan in general, he's going to have to probably slow down a little bit and work on some player development. I do not think he's going to get that 9 or 10 win first season. Now, he could. I know Michigan State, I want to say their coach a couple of years ago on his first go around, he got 10 wins. He got 10 wins there. And he got a huge extension. And, of course, they kind of fell off last year. That's the thing. When you do this transfer portal thing, you're going to shoot up, and then you're going to fall back down and see what it does. Dion has that height machine cranked up to 11. Yeah, he's selling them, Pickles. He is selling them. The fact that they've gotten the most nationally televised games since 1990, the year they won the national championship. Pickles, didn't you tell me that Eric Bieniemy was on that team? He's the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders now, former coordinator for Kansas City Chiefs there, and he's a running back on that team. So, I mean, it's a very difficult schedule, 50 transfers. His son, by the way, his son is considered a top 8 NFL draft prospect. We're going to find out how good Schroeder Sanders is. Schroeder was Schroeder is his son. He's kind of thin, and he's listed as a top 7 if he were to come out. But listen to what this. Let me make sure hit this home, right, folks? Fox always has to put in its most important game of the week in the big noon window. It's been the most watched window of any network each of the past 2 seasons, and that is, again, noon Central, 12 p.m. Eastern. I wanted to make sure I got that right, and I'm reading it directly from the screen here. So, we'll see how it plays out. I will be watching them, though. I will be watching for a fact. I want to see how good his son is. I've watched some of his Jackson State. That competition is not quite Pac-12 competition. But say, for instance, what if they pull off an upset and beat Oregon, and then they play, USC with 1 or 0 losses, Caleb Williams. Now, this is going to be at Colorado, so that may help them there. He's a much better coach than I thought he was originally going to be, judging by what he's done in recruiting at Jackson State, and judging by talk to Jim Jeffcoat, who played with him. Jim said, "Hey, listen, this guy right here, this Deion Sanders. I mean, he wears the gold chains and does all this and talks all this hype, but this guy was there early. He was there early and studying film on the facility, working out." He said he's very diligent with his work ethic, and he's going to push you really hard. So I listened to an interview with his son. He's very confident. I think Schroeder's going to play really well. We're going to find out how well here in a few months here, but I do think he's going to play. He's not going to be overhyped. I think he's going to play well. I don't know if he's going to play as good as Drake May or Caleb Williams, but I do think that he's going to be talked about, and I do not think that it's going to be over-exaggerated. I think he's going to that's going to be some interesting stuff here. So, anyways, good stuff there, folks. I'm not sure where to start at. Now, you know what? Let me go ahead and get this baseball story out of the way. I know I'm in Nashville. I'm going to talk about the Titans. Going to talk about the AFC South here in just a few minutes. But changing gears here, kudos to Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw, pitcher for the LA Dodgers, pushing back on the inviting of this. Let me make sure I've got this right. The Sisters of the Perpetual Indulgence. This is a group. It's called a charity, but really it is a group of men who wear makeup and they make fun of nuns, from what I understand. And this next month is Gay Pride Month, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But and last year, the teams were made to wear the Gay Pride stuff, the Major League, which was so stupid. I mean, listen, man. Here's the thing, and I say this about all type of stuff that's out of the ordinance of the game itself. Baseball, America's pastime, right? America's passion is the NFL. And when you start putting in stuff that does not have nothing to do, politics, even religion here, you're taking away the concentration of the game. Dodgers are a good brand. They've got a really good team. They won the World Series a few years ago, but the whole league is doing this stuff. And if you say something, which players did last year, the media comes down on you, and then these teams cower. They cower to these groups. So I started looking up into what is there's a lot to say here. We go through this with all these groups, and my issue is not with the groups more than it is with these teams that allow this stuff to happen, and not just baseball. We went through it with the NFL, went through it with the NBA here, and the truth of the matter is, I looked up like the trans community, and the trans community is 5% of the entire United States. Okay. And I guarantee you about 99.9% of baseball fans are not part of that community. Okay. They are not, people are there to watch the game. They're there to watch the game. They don't want to be, and of course, the Dodgers, they say, okay, we'll have faith in family now. No, you don't need that. You don't need that either. The Dodgers, and this is what, if I am the Dodgers ownership, if I am all of the NFL, all of the NBA, I'm going to take that Dodgers hat. I'm going to take that Dodgers hat, and I'm going to say, you see this right here? This blue hat, this traditional blue hat, Pickles, this says L.A. That's the hat we wear here. And people from all, because think about it here. This group, they mock nuns, and which is Catholic. And a lot of the players are from Spanish-speaking countries, which is huge Catholic. I mean, there's no consideration for, and I'm not even Catholic, but there's no consideration from the players, from your Latin American players who are raised Catholic. They're raised Catholic. But my point is that hat right there, that is all we're about, man. That is, and we don't care what you do outside this stadium, but that hat is all we want to see in here. That's what we're about. We're about America's pastime. The Major League Baseball has made tremendous progress in speeding up the game, getting it more interesting, add excitement to the game with the pitch clock, adding offense to the game with removing shifting, and stop letting these groups in here who are not sports fans. That's the thing about it. Where are you getting this? Where are you getting this idea that these people want to see this stuff? And quite frankly, I like this my man here. I want to give my man, this guy, Grant Boatmont, and Robbie Starbuck. He's an author. These are authors here. But let me give these guys credit for their quote. He says, MLB teams do not force players to wear crosses or Christian paraphernalia on faith and family night. As a result, they shouldn't force players. They shouldn't force players to wear LGBTQ pride paraphernalia. And then Robbie Starbuck, these are guys, author also, he said, more news, I confirm a big group of MLB players will refuse to wear pride, trans flags, or any kind of this if asked by their teams. This includes star players, a few strong men. Last year, I said you should do this if you're Major League Baseball players. And now this year, they're finally saying, listen, we're tired of this, man. I want to concentrate on the game. I don't want the media asking me about this. I don't have a problem with this, but don't force your issues on me. I'm not asking you to wear a cross. Nobody's asking you to pray before the game. Okay. And not just Christian faith. I mean, the Muslim faith, there's a lot of different faiths, different forms of faith. People want to keep that to themselves that play. Remember, baseball's an international game now. You have people in Japan now. Otani's one of the best players in the league. They don't want to have agendas pushed on them. And there's a segment of this population, and it's a very small segment, and that's not about politics. It's about radicalism, and they're less than 5%, a little bitty pinch, and they're controlling the national narrative in this country. And it's because people are too afraid to step, and we outnumber them. We, meaning everyday people who don't want to be lectured to, okay? Everyday people outnumber those people. And I think people like Clayton Kershaw are finally starting to understand this. I do not want, my niece used to be a volleyball player. Brittany watches the program. She's 5'1", maybe 5'2". I don't want her playing against a guy 6'3", who's a guy 18 years of his life or whatever, and it says he's a woman who wants to go play. We're supposed to take that, listen to that agenda. But, kudos to Clayton Kershaw. I wish they would just not have either night. It's all about that LA blue hat. It's all about that team. Mookie Betts. It's about Clayton Kershaw. Go across the way to Anaheim. It's about Otani and those guys. Make it about the game. Make it about the pastime. Don't make it about divisive social issues or politics of any nature. All 32 teams and 30 teams now in Major League Baseball. That stuff is confusing. In these groups that do this, you want to say it's about acceptance and all this. To me, it's about child indoctrination. They know it and you know it. And people don't, it gets people's browned up. And people are too afraid to speak out against it, but I'm not, And I don't care if ESPN does that. I don't care if I make another penny from this show. I'm sick and tired of this crap. I've been tired of this, but hey, the players are starting to say, hey, look, we got a little power too here. Don't mandate us to do this. If I don't ask you to wear mine, you don't ask me to wear yours. Agree to disagree. We're all players here. And if someone's like that hey, look, man, that's your business. Let's go out here and win a baseball game, So kudos for that one, guys. People says association play ball here. All professionals should leave their politics and religion in the locker room. Yeah. And players and shut the bleep up and play ball. And you know what? I'm looking forward to, Pickles, on a side note of getting back into baseball. I did at the beginning in April. And then March Madness started, then the playoffs started. I know the finals are going to be tomorrow, by the way. Jeffrey Deskovic will be on tomorrow at the beginning of the show. And I'm going to try to finish up as quickly as possible. I'm curious about this game one. But we'll be talking about that tomorrow. But, again, baseball is getting back to a good place right now. And Ron Acuna, I want to see if he's going to keep up this pace here. I know the Yankees are starting to heat up bats-wise, but I'm going to get back into that. I'm going to try to talk as much as I can. I'm not really knowledgeable on baseball as much as I used to be. It's going to take a while for me to get back into it, but I'm looking forward to the play on the field. There's a lot of good storylines in the league, and this stuff, these groups need to stay out of it, man. But anyways, okay. Back to the NFL, back to the pigskin. I told you all I was wanting to talk about the AFC South. Now we're having OTAs right now, and for example, Will Levis, Titans fans, he supposedly had a terrible OTA today. Now it's OTAs. We'll see. Usually you shouldn't have a terrible OTA. You're not going against nobody. Maybe this guy could be a bust. I digress. So that's one of the bigger storylines of the South, not to mention C.J. Stroud going to Houston. Now, I'll say this. Now, Houston, and I'm going to get into all the schedules and everything here in just a second. I'm just giving you a preview, right? Houston played good football down the stretch last year. They got DeMeco Ryans, better than average offensive line for Houston, better than average offensive line. Love that. What's his name? Is it Damian Pierce? Their running back there, Pickles. Second-year guy. Could have a great Laremy Tunsil, left tackle. They re-upped him. So they did some good things, and the Colts, they're good in the trenches. The Colts beat the Kansas City Chiefs last year. Okay, guys like DeForest Buckner, this Kitty Payway, I can't remember that defensive end. He's a promising guy. I think they'll have Shaq Leonard back. So these teams are much better than they look on paper. They're much better. And plus, they got Gardner Minshew. So, anyways, let's talk about Jacksonville. Okay. Now, Jacksonville, I told you that I still don't have an understanding of what Jacksonville is going to do with Cam Robertson. He had some kind of PED issue, and that's their left tackle. Okay. And then their right tackle, they traded Jawan Taylor. So I'm just not sure. Jacksonville, they got Calvin Ridley. They got Calvin Ridley on their team. That the wide receiver, remember, he was suspended for Calvin Ridley was suspended for gambling. He was suspended for gambling. So you've got him. Obviously, you got an all-world quarterback that was bursting out. Remember, they got to the playoff with Trevor Lawrence. Got to the playoffs last year. Great comeback. I predicted they would beat the LA Chargers there, and gave Kansas City fits early, but didn't work out. Josh Allen on the defensive end there, and of course the other guy they drafted on the other side there. It was number one pick. I think his name was Washington or whatever. On the other side there. So they're really good up front. Some issues at the cornerback position. And that tackle position, that is my only really concern of this team. Now, they did okay in the playoffs. They didn't have Cam Robertson. And they lost their right tackle. So that's my only concern. And I think maybe Robertson may not get suspended, but I just keep reading that he's possibly going to, but I don't know how much time. And if he plays, that's fine. I think he got hurt actually last year too. So those things, their pass rush, the running game, the weapons on offense, they're probably going to win this division. All right. And looking at their schedule here, if I can find it. Here we go. Now, they open up against the Indianapolis Colts at the Colts. Colts are probably going to play Gardner Minshew there. They're probably going to win that game. Now, they've got Kansas City at home for the second week. I'll say this. That's a coin flip game. I think they match up really well against Kansas City. This team matches up really well against Kansas City. I think they'll probably knock out Kansas City and Jacksonville, Pickles. It's going to be hot down there. We're talking September 17th. Okay. Jacksonville, Florida. Hot mother bleeper down there, Pickles. All right. And then they've got Houston at home. Now, Houston went up there and beat them last year in Jacksonville with their running game. And I told you this, Pierce is a really good upgraded offensive line. Now, I don't know if it's going to be Stroud. Stroud's listed as a starter. They've got some players on defense now. They got Dalton Schultz. But I think they'll beat Houston. Now, the next 2 weeks for Jacksonville, they got to play. Yeah, they got to go to London. Go figure, right, Pickles? And play Atlanta. Now, Atlanta's much improved as well. Atlanta's much improved. Atlanta's going to have a really good running game with this. I call him Alligator. It's like Al Jazeera or something like that. Al Jazeera Network, Pickles. Remember him last year? But also they've got Bijan Robinson with the running back there. But they got to play Atlanta in London. But here's the thing. This is crazy. They got to play Buffalo the next week in London. So 2 consecutive. I guess they're going to stay 2 weeks in London. Their body clocks. Listen, folks. I went down to Laughlin, Nevada. I don't know if you all remember this. Some of you, the family that watches the program. I moved from Nashville, Laughlin, Nevada in October of 2006, right after college, and took a job there at a newspaper. And they were on Pacific time zone. I lived there about 6 weeks. Things didn't work out. Didn't get along with my manager there. And I'll tell you, I could not get used to Pacific time zone in 6 weeks. I was going to bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock Pacific time in October. But all the way up to the time I left, my body could not. I was still on Central time zone. I could not get used to. I love those early start games though. I mean, 9 o'clock in the morning. That's also, or 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock when the football game comes on. I love that, but I could not get used to it. I just could not get used to it. So they got 2 games in London. Jacksonville does. Buffalo and Atlanta. I'll say this: they'll lose one of them games. They will lose one of them games. All right. So and then they come home. They play the Colts. By the way, Jacksonville's beat the Colts since 2014 every year at home. So I think they'll beat the Colts. And then they got to play at the Saints on a Thursday night. That's big advantage for New Orleans with Derek Carr. And then at Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh had already had their bye week 2 weeks beforehand. That's before their bye week in week 9. I got them going, having 3 losses at that point. I got them going 5-3 through the first 8 games. I couldn't tell you the 3. I think maybe Kansas City, maybe Atlanta, maybe Buffalo, maybe New Orleans, and I do think Pittsburgh will beat them. I think going up to Pittsburgh before your bye week when they've done had one mid-season like that. They're physical. Pittsburgh's going to have a pass rush. I always got a pass rush. They're going to have a left tackle. They're going to have George Pickens is saying that I'm going to the Pro Bowl this year. Book it. And that's their lead receiver. But I think Pickett's going to have a bounce-back year for Pittsburgh. So at their bye week at 9, again, I got them going 5-3. They're going to have 3 losses at that point. And then when they get back off their bye week, they got to play the 49ers at home on an early start time. But here's the thing. The 49ers are coming off of bye week 2. That's a 50-50 game. And then they got to play Tennessee at home. Okay? And down the stretch, you got them playing Tennessee at home at Houston. They could very well lose that game. I do got them losing to Cincinnati on Monday night. And then they got a short week to Cleveland. Then Baltimore back at home. And then they finish out at Tampa, Carolina at home, and then at Tennessee. I think Tennessee will beat them in Nashville. Tennessee's always matched up well against Tennessee had this team beat early, both games, period. last year. When Tennessee had all that offensive line problems, they had Jacksonville beat before a bunch of foolish turnovers. Here in Nashville, they had much control of that game. Tennessee's not going to be that injured this time. Okay. So my final analysis of this team, they're probably going to go 11-6. They're probably going to go 11-6. They'll be very fortunate to go 12-5. But listen, if that offensive line is shaky, I mean, I like Trevor Lawrence, but he is a little lanky, and he can get caught from behind. He's a tall guy. He's a long strider, and these little missile linebackers out here can catch him. Now, remember, Tennessee lost their best pass rusher last year, okay, before the training camp. So, and again, the Colts are very good in the trenches. I gave them that Colts win at Indianapolis, but hey, Indianapolis can beat them up there with the right game plan. And if Gardner Minshew is a starter, which he's listed as a starter, okay? So I'm going to be on the safe side. I thought they would be better than that but after I spent hours today breaking down this early look, I think Jacksonville's going to go 10-6 or 11-6, excuse me, and be the odds on in this particular division here. And of course, I'm still working on the division. Now, Colts. Speaking of the Colts, okay. Now, again, Colts very good in the trenches where it counts. They got Shane Steichen. That's the offensive coordinator from Philadelphia. Remember he came over, I guess Jim Irsay, the owner, I guess he was impressed with that kind of offense that the Eagles were running. Remember last year, the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. This team, the Eagles beat them by 1 point. 1 point last year. This team did beat Kansas City Chiefs last year, okay? Like I said earlier, their best player on defense, Shaq Leonard, second best. Buckner's probably their best. Then he was hurt all year last year. Now, let's see how he plays out this year. But at some point, I do think that Anthony Richardson, the very raw but talented quarterback out of Florida, he might play at some point this year. And I think that they probably know that. And I think that they're not saying this publicly, but I think this team is probably playing for next year and rebuild. But, I do like this guy, Josh Downs, that they drafted. They got Michael Pittman, Jonathan Taylor. Kenny Pay is who I was trying to say earlier. Pretty good front line. DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart. That's a pretty good defense there. Shaq Leonard, if you could just get him back there, I think this is a pretty decent team, okay? Their road games at Cincinnati, at Atlanta, of course, at Tennessee. But they got to play New England. They got to play New England before Week 11 bye. I could see them losing that game, okay, at Baltimore. So, there's too much what if about the Colts. There's too much question mark. There's too much is Anthony Richardson, because Gardner Minshew, he's a nice player, but he's going to look good. He's going to look like that guy, Pickles, that with that beard. And I can't remember his name right now, but he's played for about 7 different teams. He'll get hot for 2 or 3 games. God, what's his name? I think he retired. He went to Harvard. He's got a beard. He's played for every team in the league, Pickles. And he sometimes he's great, sometimes he's not. And he's good for about 2 or 3. That's about like Minshew. Minshew's going to look like a backup about week 5. Yep. Fitzpatrick. Yep. Ryan Fitzpatrick you got Fitz Magic, Chad. And when you got Fitz Magic there, he could beat anybody in the league. Go beat Kansas City, Philadelphia, who's the best team out there right now? Buffalo, and then the magic goes away. Then it goes away. That's Minshew. He's a poor man's Fitzmagic. He's not even as good as Fitzmagic. Okay? So my thing is, somewhere in the middle here, I'm going to say maybe week 8, home against New Orleans. I think they're going to bring they'll bring Anthony Richardson in here. So I think this team's probably a 5-12, 6-11 team, and they're going to have a really good pick next year. They're playing for next year. They'll probably put Anthony Richardson in at that point. We know Richardson's super raw. Get him some playing time here. This team is, like I said, they're good on both sides. And when you're good in the trenches like that, good things can happen. Good things can happen if you have a quarterback who doesn't completely blow the game for you. So I think they're going to finish in last place in the division if we're keeping up with things. Okay. Now, Houston. Did I say Houston? No, I didn't. I did not say Houston. Okay. Again, Houston. Now, they've already listed C.J. Stroud, rookie out of they've already got Stroud listed as a starter. They said, forget Davis Mills and Casey Keenum, although I do like it. Dameon Pierce, Pickles, going to be a great fantasy play next year. Got D'Amico Ryans, defensive-minded head coach. He's going to run that rock. He's going to run the rock, okay? And they picked up Dalton Schultz. Pretty good hands. And free agency got the tight end there from Dallas there. Got a speedy guy in the draft, John Mechie. Robert Woods, he's past his prime. So they're not going to really have a lot of speed on the receiver. But, hey, they've got Laremy Tunsil locked in there at left tackle. Shaq Mason, they picked him up from Tampa in free agency. That Mason is former New England Patriot there. Remember, they got Will Anderson. So they're going to have a little bit of a pass rush. They're going to have a little bit of a pass rush with Will Anderson. They got with the, I think it was on the 3rd pick or whatever, picked up Jimmy Ward out of San Francisco. Derek Stingley was coming together last year at cornerback. So you've got some pieces there on defense. This team could beat anybody next year. They're the team that you're thinking, okay, we got Houston. We just played Kansas City or whoever. We got past that. We got Baltimore next week or Pittsburgh or whatever next week. Houston, and you mail it in, and you're sitting there in the 4th quarter and you're down, and it's like 5 minutes ago, and you're thinking, what the bleep has happened here? But remember, this team took Kansas City overtime last year, beat Tennessee last year, beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, went up there, beat Jacksonville in Jacksonville last year. So they're a team. I mean, they're not going to make it to the playoffs. I think that they'll probably finish ahead of the Colts. I think they'll probably finish ahead of the Colts here. 6-11, 7-10, perhaps. Now, remember, this team had the number 1 pick most of the season last year, and Lovie Smith went for 2 at the end to beat the Colts there, just to stick it to the ownership there, so they wouldn't get that number 1 pick and end up going to the Bears, who later traded that pick. Okay, Titan fans, I know this is what you've been waiting for here. It's 49 minutes in. Did that on purpose, teased it, right, Pickles? Okay. Now, I have to be fair about Tennessee. Now, mind you, again, Harold Landry, best pass rusher, tore his ACL in camp last year, done. Right off the bat, I mean, they lose it. They give a game away to New York, go up to Buffalo, and just get a ton of injuries, including Taylor Lewan at left tackle. You got guys like, who was it, Ben Jones getting hurt. I mean, just a makeshift offensive line. And now they've got 4 new starters here on the offensive line. But if you look at this team, they played competitive football. They had think about it this way. Even with all those injuries on the offensive line, okay, they had Jacksonville on the ropes in that last game on Saturday night in Jacksonville. They had them on the ropes in Jacksonville. And, of course, the offensive line got the best of them. The quarterback there, Josh Dobbs, fill in. He gave up the big fumble for a touchdown, and then Jacksonville beat Tennessee. But, the year before that, Tennessee was the number 1 seed in the whole AFC, okay? Tennessee took a guy like Malik Willis, went up to Kansas City, pushed them all the way to the brink, where the guy couldn't throw the ball. I mean, he couldn't get a first down. So I have to be fair about Tennessee. You got guys like Trayvon Burks back. You've got a healthy Ryan Tannehill. It looks if they keep Ryan Tannehill. Now we're around this pivotal. Tomorrow will be June 1st. Now tomorrow, Pickles, if they cut Ryan Tannehill to save money and Will Levis is a starting quarterback, throw out everything I say tonight. Okay. I don't think nobody's going to get cut, but you just never know. Okay. But you look at the pieces, your Andre Dillard, Peter Sonorski, what's his name? Bartnell, whatever his name is. The guy they brought in from they brought in from San Francisco there. And they also picked up, they have they have 2 starters. They're moving a new guy over to center there. And this Farit or whatever, the right tackle out of Ohio State, he's staying there and he's staying put there. So your 3 to 4 offensive line, your makeshift in this line. I do think the offensive line will be better. I do think that Taylor Lewan was right. He got his ACL torn. He's suing the doctor or something like that. He was never right. He tore his ACL about 3 years ago, and he was never really right ever since. And he said that. But this new line, if it's half as good as I think it could be, and which is anything is better than last year. They were 32nd in the league towards the end of the season, according to Pro Football Focus, in the offensive line. And you look at Akano, the tight end there, who was really coming along there towards the end. I like him, okay? I like Spears, the running back they picked up in the 3rd round to offset Derrick Henry. By the way, he's had a good run in camp the other day. Really good run. He's quick man. He's going to be a good player for Tennessee, okay? Burks, this Kyle Phillips guy that was returning punts, he had some fumble issues. He's quick. So I do think that they're going to be a lot better than people think. Front 7 defensively, this team's top 5 run defense all year. That's a big deal. Still got Kevin Byard as of today at safety there. Christian Fulton's back. Okay. This Caleb, was it Farley or whatever? McQuarrie. This McQuarrie, the 2nd-year player. So they're going to be a little bit more experienced in the secondary. So this team is going to, defensively, they're not going to be easy out for anybody because they're going to be healthy this year, supposedly. Okay? So, I'm looking at this, and again, I look at Tennessee's schedule, and I think, okay, it's very rough early. And I mentioned that before. I thought I screenshotted their schedule, but maybe I didn't, folks. So let me double back here and check here. They have a rough early start to the schedule. They play teams like the Saints. They play the Saints early. I basically got them going 3-3 before their bye week in week 7. And you know, they played Baltimore. They played Baltimore in London, so they got the London game as well. Okay. So, but you know what? They played those London last time they played in London. I thought I had their schedule. I've got everybody here scheduled, but Tennessee's. Okay. Either way. So they played Baltimore really well. Baltimore's got a new offensive coordinator here. Okay. I've got the schedule coming up here real quick here. Here we go. I thought I had it screenshotted. Okay. I think they'll knock out the Saints early. Saints got new system, new quarterback. Head coach ain't as good as Tennessee. They go down, but they've got teams like the LA Chargers in week 2, at Cleveland in week 3, and then they play Cincinnati at home. But Cincinnati plays a Monday night game before that, and then they got to go on the road at Indianapolis and then Baltimore at home. Not at home. It's in London in week 6. So I got to go in 3-3 there. I think Tennessee will beat somebody they're not supposed to. They'll probably lose. They may lose to the Colts for all we know. Okay. And, you know, they got a bye week. They play Atlanta at home. Then they play at Pittsburgh on Thursday. Bad matchup for Tennessee there. At Tampa, at Jacksonville. Got them losing that Jacksonville game. Carolina at home. I think they'll beat Carolina here. And then at at Miami on Monday night. They'll lose that one. They'll probably lose that Houston game because it's on a short week here. But they'll beat Seattle. They'll go to Houston and beat them. And I think they'll beat Jacksonville to end the season. So I got them going 9-8, 10-7. 9-8, 10-7. If they go 10-7, now it's going to be a dogfight for the. It's going to be a dogfight for that last wild card. Like I said, I think the Jets could get that wild card. I think Miami could get that wild card. I think Kansas City could get that wild card. I'm leaning towards the Chargers winning the West. Okay, I think Pittsburgh could get that wild card. Cleveland could get that wild card. The New England Patriots could get a wild card. So you start to look at all them, there's only 3. So I do think that Tennessee will finish second in this division. But that being said, could they win the division? Absolutely. Because I don't know how the situation with Jacksonville's offensive line, and I don't know how good the fill-ins are going to be for Tennessee. But they're so well coached that they could find a way and win this thing at 10, 11, 6. But right now, I got them second. I got them second. I've got Houston third, and I've got the Colts fourth in the division. Could that change? Hey, anything can happen, you know. And anything can happen, and things go south. I think they maybe put Levis in at some point. I don't think that'll happen. I think Tennessee will be very competitive to the end. I think Tannehill's going to play this thing out. And it's going to be exciting for Titan fans. I kind of got them just a little short. They're not as bad as I thought they would be. This GM will make a splash somewhere, Titans. So I do think that. I think this guy's got a good eye for talent. I was really high, unlike other people. I was really high on this GM. I like their first-round pick. I like that running back they got. I like that tight end they got in the 4th round. And Levis, hey, look, Levis with the 2nd-round pick, I do think Levis is a low-risk, high-reward guy. They did not mortgage the farm for him. They did not trade up in the 1st round. But we'll see how he plays out. We will see how he plays out. So this is going to be a very interesting division to watch between Tennessee and Jacksonville. But it's Jacksonville's to lose right now. As of right now with Ridley and just that offense as a whole, their running game, their pass rush, their back end. And Trevor Burks could have a total breakout year and be like A.J. Brown. I read that he's lighter this year. They've got a good tight end. They've got two good running backs. I believe it's going to be a hit right off the bat. I'm not as low as other people are on their skill positions. I'm just not. I'm not. Yeah. So anyways, folks, if you like the show, please share the show, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I will see you tomorrow. As soon as we get started, I'll have Jeffrey Descovit on. He's a great guest, by the way. I have him on the first 30 minutes, and then we'll go over whatever's popping. By then, I'll probably try to end it a little early because I want to watch the finals too. Thank you, everybody.